Many of us suffer unnecessary levels of anxiety because of a simple core misunderstanding and the absence of one relatively simple but crucial piece of knowledge. And we go through years of heightened stress, worry, and often overreaction to others and to events, all because we're unaware of an unhelpful reflex operating in us. This reflex is the triggering of our internal threat alert system, an evolutionary function designed to help us survive crises, when the threat is actually just a fearful mental construct. We are designed to recognize threats and survive them by reacting appropriately, foreseeing consequences, taking prompt, even energetic steps. Because real-world threats often unfold quickly, we're wired with a protective alarm response, our own unique facing danger mode, often supported by an adrenaline rush. Hence, when you cross a road, unwisely texting at the same time, and a drunk driver's car suddenly comes at you, a flash of terror and burst of energy help you jump clear and survive. It's nature's design, a wondrous positive faculty, without which most of us wouldn't make it to adulthood. But by the time many of us do, it's become confused with something else. Our amazing survival reflex is only meant to trigger in the face of real threats, of palpable, non-imaginary physical or emotional damage or destruction. Otherwise, it itself generates fear. How? Consider the definition of the verb fear in the Oxford Dictionary. To be afraid of someone or something as likely to be dangerous, painful, or harmful. Note the likely to be. In this context, we could just as easily use the word might. Might turns out to be the magic M word by which we can, thankfully, separate the need for defense from imaginary fear. When you go camping, you don't put your hand in the fire even if you're drunk and someone dares you to. Why? Because your extending hand instantly detects real heat, activating defense. Defense in this example is the inbuilt, instinctive, common-sense urge that tells you, "Danger, Will Robinson," and makes you withdraw your hand to avoid that clear and present danger. If an apparently deranged person appears right beside you in the park, talking to themselves and brandishing a knife, your defensive systems engage at a much more intense level. You rightly feel panic, fear, or terror, because both your instincts and past learning experiences scream that this is a threat event far greater than any campfire, and you should run. In both these examples, as in any situation of self-generated risk-taking or any alarming random encounter that just comes your way, any short-term stress or fear that you feel is totally justified. Instinctively avoiding greater risk or harm, or fleeing potentially fatal danger, is not the psychological fear that we are talking about, which is triggered by likely to be, or might. Throughout the world, millions of people suffer stress, anxiety, disrupted sleep, and even physical illnesses because daunting information, or just thoughts, trigger psychological fear. Psychological fear is unrelated to any concrete and true immediate danger, and is intrinsically linked to that key identifier, the concept of might. It might happen, and it also might not. In statistical terms, most people's daily psychological fears never materialize, yet they pay for them, suffering deeply, because their minds have confused is threats with might threats. The great American author Mark Twain famously confessed, "I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened." And this, unfortunately, also applies to much of our society. If you observe your habitual thoughts about and habitual reactions to disturbing or outright bad news, you will immediately sense worry, anxiety, nervousness, tension, and dread around them. Now take that self-watching to a deeper level. Is this imminent threat actually something that, objectively speaking, only might happen? and not something happening now or inevitably? Of course, on receiving concerning news, it's both natural and sensible to factor all incoming information into your evolving outlook, future plans, and responses to people and situations. But also deploy sober, intelligent awareness to divide the negative thought loops or worrying news from their actual threat levels, so you don't constantly experience fear over what might be. We're simply not designed to function that way. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger is a reference to just how resilient and potentially regenerative humans are when disasters are real. Think of Mark Twain's wise words: "Why burden, overstimulate, and negatively program your nervous system and brain pathways over stuff, most of which will simply never happen." Different skills are called for when any threat turns out to be real, unavoidable, and serious. But for normal daily life, greater emotional wellness lies in learning to manage this common reflex. Spiritually evolving humans can cope with even genuine crisis, but who can cope with something that's only a mind projection? With practice, we can train ourselves to recognize which is which. And once we do, through working on our self-awareness, we can know greater freedom from fear, saving our energy, coping skills, and mind time for life's far less frequent real challenges.
If you now feel that crisis thinking may be an issue in your life, there's even more help available in this episode's content cousin, our very incisive episode 12.